Okay, by no means do I enjoy having to make a video like this, and it's quite actually sad and painful for me to see this sort of thing happen. But as I often wake up each morning, I get many, many messages from my social media, which is now something like, between all accounts, 160, 170,000 people that send me stuff. And so this morning I was sent a very disturbing video, which is behind me here, and you see long-term vegan advocate Dr. John McDougall being interviewed with a guy by the name of John, I think it's called Doulard, who is another plant-based advocate, and he's going, the purpose of the interview, he's going to ask him questions about some of the new research suggesting that maybe including a small amount of animal products in the diet might be helpful. And, you know, it's very clear watching this video that Dr. McDougall is suffering from probably early onset dementia. You can tell he has these wild gestures. His thought pattern is very rigid. He is obviously just declining mentally. And we've seen this for a couple of years now. A couple of years ago, he had fallen at age 69, broken several bones, indicating probably significant osteopenia or osteoporosis. You know, and so we just see this decline that most likely is diet related. In his diet, he promotes a brand of veganism called the Starch Solution, which is a starch-based diet. He believes that all human beings, and as you listen to him, he talks about his beliefs that all human beings that primarily lived on a starch-based diet, well, made up of potatoes, beans, corn, things of those natures, and that's what his premise, and that's what the way he's been eating apparently. You know, listening to him, it would appear almost as if he was intoxicated and been drinking alcohol, but then he rails against the evils of alcoholism. And so I don't think that's the case. I do think this is true mental decline seen with dementia. It's not something I do to make fun of, but to point out the pain that's associated with that. My grandmother died from Alzheimer's dementia. It was very painful to watch her decline over the later years of her life, and she died at age 94. And was basically addicted to sugar at that point. It's all she wanted to eat. The brain at that level is starved for metabolic efficiency, and so people often feel they're glucose starved, and they constantly desire glucose in that situation, which is interesting. But the point this out is, again, not to make fun of the guy. And the problem, is you could say, well, why doesn't Don, why won't he go back to eating meat or something that would give him the nutrition that might help his brain? And what happens is you get far enough gone, you become so rigid in your thinking, so dogmatic that you never do that. And we see this in a number of people that begin to start suffering from what I like to call end-stage veganism. We see this with Freely the Banana Girl. Probably the same thing will happen to her. If you watch, I think probably we'll see the same thing happen with another vegan advocate, Dr. Michael Greger, as he continues down, his path, and you see him probably starting to decline as well. Certainly, we're seeing signs of sarcopenia in that particular guy. It's kind of interesting. I've been going back and forth on social media with this other physician, Dr. Joel Kahn, who's a cardiologist, another long-term vegan, and as much as we go back and forth, he'll post a study, I'll post a study. We'll basically say the other one's full of it. And, he's become increasingly unstable, launched into a long profanity-filled tirade against me. So I finally had to block the guy. And so I suspect we'll see the same thing, hopefully not, but maybe we'll see some mental decline in that situation as well. It's, not that any of this is fortunate, but we do have this as a cautionary tale to see what happens long term, because we do not have any long-term vegans out there. Veganism started, I think, in 1944 as a philosophy, and wasn't widely adopted, and it still isn't widely adopted. But we're now starting to see at least a few people that have done it for a long period of time, and the results seem to be problematic, particularly when it comes to degeneration, which either is sarcopenia or mental health degeneration. That's why we see, again, a number of studies correlating things like low cholesterol and mental health disorders, and low animal protein diets and sarcopenia and fractures. And so I think this is playing out before our very eyes. I mean, it's not that everybody needs to be on a carnivore diet, but I think people that are doing maybe a plant-based diet should include maybe some amount of meat in their diet, maybe some minimal amount. I mean, my goodness, you could eat some shellfish. I mean, I know there's people out there that seem to think that even a scalp is not worth the life of eating. And I mean, to me, it just becomes so dogmatic and ridiculous to to think that, an animal that obviously really has no higher thought at all, you couldn't at least eat. So it's just a cautionary tale against dogmatism. For me, I mean, I eat a meat-based diet, but certainly if I felt my health were in any way compromised, I would not hesitate to put plant-based foods back in if I thought that would help. I wouldn't hesitate to increase my consumption of liver or other, fish products if I felt that eating mostly red meat was a problem. I think this is a difference, and it's something that we should all, keep in the back of our mind, that this is all based on results, and we should not be adhered too much to an ideology. I think there is, increasingly more and more evidence that supports a animal-based diet versus a plant-based diet. And I certainly believe that, and I'll continue to promote that as long as the evidence shows that, in my view. But anyway, again, so veganism, a cautionary tale. We see some of the long-term vegans out there saying, I've been doing it for 10 or 20 years and I'm fine. I think it's kind of like looking at, nuclear bomb survivors. You've got people that survived Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and you would say, well, they survived a bomb, so bombs are fine, right? So you can't just look at the survivors and assume a diet is good. Most people are going to quit the diet anyway. We know the vast majority of people don't last on a vegan diet. So only the people that survive are either people that, have some physiologic reserve, maybe certain, SNPs or single nucleotide polymorphisms that allow them to better handle certain plant materials, or the ones that are dogmatically and inherently going to do or die, and we see what happens to those people. We see those certainly with the end-stage fruitarians, and now we're seeing with starchivores, as Dr. McDougall likes to call himself. Again, maybe there's a way to do plant-based diet, but I think there's a lot of ways to screw it up, and we're seeing lots of problems there. And so hopefully many vegans will watch his video, and maybe if you want to do it for the animals, eat some animal protein and fat in your diet. Do it from a grass-fed animal. You're going to kill a hell of a lot more animals, kill a hell of a lot less animals doing it that way than you will eating a field full of food, which has, countless animals are going to die anyway. So anyway, that is my observation for the day. Again, it gives me no pleasure to make videos like this, and I truly do not want to see anyone else suffering, human, certainly, and obviously animals as well. We don't want to see animals suffering, but we have to realize that they are truly what we evolved to eat, and we have to realize, to make the best of it. So anyway, you guys take care. Check out, like the video, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Check out the links below. I'm going to link the video also of this Dr. McDougall interview because I think it's so concerning to watch, and I hope many of you watch it. You might have to speed up for it. The first 10 minutes seem okay, or 5 or 10 minutes, maybe 5 minutes, and then he really becomes unhinged. And the farther he gets into it, it really becomes painful to watch. But I think it's instructive to watch that. Anyway, you guys take care.